joining us now is our first guest today. He's the Chief of Police in the city of Keego Harbor. We are joined once again by Chief John Fitzgerald on the Oakland County Megacast. Chief Fitz, thanks for being with us today.
Good morning, Tyler.
Appreciate
Good morning, Ronnie.
Good morning. How are you doing? How are your officers?
They're doing well. Thank you very much for asking. They're doing great.
That's good to hear. So we had an incident over last weekend on the water, and we see these kinds of things happen year to year in various places, not just in Keego Harbor, but all throughout Oakland County and the state of Michigan. Can you give us a little bit of detail about what went on the water in Keego and how that incident maybe was resolved in that case?
I'll try to keep the story short and not drone on too long about it. But our Marine Patrol officer was out on the lake on Saturday. He observed a personal watercraft floating over by Ward's Point, and he saw a couple of people in the water, and one looked like they were in distress. They were signaling for help. As he got closer, it was a male and a female in the water, and she was screaming for help. He pulled up and performed a water rescue, got her on the boat. The male got back to the personal watercraft and then maneuvered that over by the police boat, where it seemed like the male and female were having an argument, but he convinced her to get back on the personal watercraft. The officer said, "I'll follow you back to the sandbar area, just make sure you get back there safely." So as he was following, he noticed the male operator driving erratically on the boat, gave him cause to investigate further for possible operating while impaired. The male driving the personal watercraft was not very cooperative during the investigation. The officer was able to determine he had probable cause to arrest him for operating while impaired of a watercraft. He told him he was going to be under arrest. The male attempted to jump off the police boat to escape, and as the officer grabbed onto him, the male jumping off, the actions pulled both of them into the water. The male pushed the officer away, assaulting him to push him away, and he was fleeing from him. He eventually got on another pontoon boat. Our officer called for help, and we're very appreciative of Sylvan Lake Police Department, West Bloomfield Police Department, Orchard Lake Police Department, Oakland County Sheriff's Department, and the DNR Law Enforcement Division. They all responded to assist the officer who had been struggling with this subject. When the other officers got there, our officer realized that he was going to step back to de-escalate the situation because he knew that he was a trigger point for this guy, and he's going to let the other officers take over. So they finished the investigation there. After a little while, they were able to get him into an ambulance to take to the hospital to check for any injuries and complete the OWI investigation. They found enough probable cause to make the arrest for operating while impaired, and he was lodged in the Oakland County Jail until it was determined he was sober enough to be released. And right now, it's awaiting presentation to the prosecutor's office. We're waiting for the blood test results on his blood alcohol content before we present for warrant.
Chief Fitzgerald, these kinds of incidents are unfortunately common on the water in Oakland County and the state of Michigan, as people are going out to recreate on the water, on boats, all throughout the state of Michigan, especially in the summer months. And it's a team effort, as you said, like your partnership with Sylvan Lake and West Bloomfield, Orchard Lake, the DNR, and so on, to bring this incident to a resolution safely. It is a team effort, but it's also a team effort on the part of the community to be courteous on the water, both of the Marine Patrol officers and, of course, of other boaters and people that are also just trying to have a fun time during the week and on the weekend on the water. What more can the community do to be courteous on the water of other people and help the police officers that are out patrolling to do their job as effectively as possible?
Well, luckily, this isn't a common event. We don't often have the officers fighting with people on the lake. This is the first incident. No, I'm sorry, the second incident since I've been here 2.5 years. But what we need out of everybody on the lake, you're out there for a good time. But remember, when you're on the sandbar on Cass Lake or any of the other lakes that the boats congregate at, there's a lot of people in the water. There's boats close together. There's anchor lines. We don't want a tragedy. A propeller can easily do damage. Serious to fatal damage to anybody standing in the water if you're not careful. That's why there's rules around the lake of the no wake zones within 100 feet of a boat, an anchored boat, a swimmer, a dock. You have to be down to as low a power as you can to still maneuver your vessel as you're in the water. Drinking and boating, yes, alcohol is legal on the boats on Cass Lake. You can have alcohol on your boat, but you have to use common sense. If you're operating a boat, that's a powerful tool. It's a dangerous tool. And if you're under the influence, you will be charged just like drunk driving on the road if something happens, and you could face serious felony charges if someone's injured or killed. So if you're operating the boat, don't be drinking. Let your guests drink. You take the day off from drinking and be safe out there. Just follow the common boating rules that are out there, and make sure there's personal flotation devices for everybody on your boat, another safety measure. And luckily, the woman in our story from this weekend was wearing a personal flotation device because she told the officer that she couldn't swim. So she was very in fear of her life, and luckily she had a vest on.
Chief, I live over there in Keego Harbor, and I've been out into that area. And the lake right there at Ward's Point, it drops off to where you're used to it being the sandbar and it's only waist high, but then all of a sudden it does drop off. Do you think some of these incidents are because people don't really understand the lake, or they're new people coming in?
I think that happens on every lake. I think that people get surprised as they're walking along lakes and you can't see the bottom, and there's a drop off, and it causes people to slip down the edge of that drop off, and they gasp and get a mouthful of water, and it leads to a tragedy. So when you're on the water, wading, swimming, or boating, you have to be careful and watch out for yourself.
Chief John Fitzgerald with us on the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe alongside Ronnie Dahl in our studios of a flagship station, Civic Center TV, and 89.3 Lakes FM. Chief Fitzgerald, we're in an interesting time now in the summer with the boating season, and with the people that are commonly gathering in Keego Harbor, on Cass Lake, on the Sandbar, and on other lakes with similar places throughout the state of Michigan, and definitely in the Oakland County area. That creates some murky ground there for social distancing measures. What are the rules in terms of social distancing and mask wearing in those kinds of, let's call, for lack of better terms, public gathering spaces during this time, and how are those being enforced and monitored by the Marine Patrol?
It's an interesting situation because you have people on boats, which even if they're right next to each other, they can still be 6 feet apart from the boat next to them. People on the boats could be members of the same household, which eliminates the mask requirements. They might not be, so maybe they should be wearing a mask. Once again, you have to be an adult and think of your own health and think of your children's health that are with you. If you're going to be close to the other people, put a mask on and help protect yourselves and your children. It's awfully hard for us to come out and go, well, who do we know that is or isn't in a household on these boats? Is this really a gathering of over 100 people? Because it's not an organized gathering. There's no lead organizer putting this together. It's just boats that have a right to come out on a waterway, and they tend to be close together because the sandbar is a limited area of space, and that's where they want to be to get out and swim wade. So it would make enforcement on our part extremely hard without stepping on people's rights also. So what I'm advising is, if you're near people that are not in your household, wear that mask or keep that distance, and be careful out there. There's not much more at the moment that we can do about that part because it's not an official gathering. We also would like to ask people, have some respect for the other people, the other boats, and the homeowners along the shoreline. Give a little room so people can get their boats out from the shore. The people that are on the sandbar have room to maneuver their boats. If you pack all on top of each other, it's something that could lead to bad things by boats having to maneuver around other boats that are too close together.
So I will say I'm out on the lake every weekend, and I'm not wearing a mask because that would be quite the sun tan that you get, your sun marks. Wouldn't that be cute? But Chief, I have to ask you, living in Keego, it seems when I've been out to a lot of the restaurants and the bars or at the shops, I've seen most people with their mask on. With the new mandate in place, I know we've talked to you about this before, but with the new mandate in place, have there been any issues or any complaints coming into the police department?
We've been lucky in Keego with very few complaints. We'd hate to see something happen where, like it's happened in some other cities, where assaults have happened and tragedies have happened, where like in the Lansing area, where the one man went in without a mask and ended up stabbing a store clerk and then having to be shot by a police officer when he attacked the police officer with a knife. There's been other assaults that have happened. If there's somebody in the store that doesn't have a mask on, don't confront them. It's not your spot to. It's just going to raise tensions, possibly raise the possibility of an assault. don't confront them. Maybe still tell a store clerk. I understand that some of the stores are a little hesitant to say something because they don't want have problems with their personnel either. You can call us if somebody refuses. Our big point of enforcing this is if we go to a store and the store has told them you can't be in here without a mask and they refuse to leave, we can write them for trespassing, and there's no question about that ticket. That'd be a misdemeanor ticket for trespassing. So we will help, but luckily the community of Keego Harbor has been pretty cooperative, and people have been wearing their masks where they're supposed to and working well with each other.
Chief, we appreciate having you on. Anything else you'd like to touch on today? Any other important information our audience should know before we let you go?
Once again, we're coming up to the weekend, a summer weekend on the lake, and people like to be on the sandbar. Please respect everybody else out there. Keep your stereos turned down. Think about if you were in your backyard, your neighbor right behind you in a subdivision can't turn his stereo up and just blast you out with the music. It's the same rules out there on the lake. Don't turn your music up on your boat aimed right at the houses on the shore. They have a right to their privacy and not have to be assaulted with your loud music. Be careful around everybody else on the lake. Remember that there's people in the water, and also remember that COVID virus is out there. Be careful with your masks and your social distancing. And we want to see everybody stay healthy and be here at the end of the summer. And we're glad to have you out in Keego and enjoy the summer on the lakes.
Chief, we appreciate having you on today. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a great day.